Tom Campbell from Cultaholic.com, joined by Adam Pacitti. Happy Pillow on the Fridge Day. Adam.
What?
Goes back to like the early 1800s when people used to put a bit of cloth in their larder for good luck for the year. And obviously they've updated it. So now on this day, if you put a pillow on top of your fridge, it brings you good luck for the year. News and vital information. Starting off with WWE confiscating all Elite Wrestling signs at SmackDown. We now know Jon Moxley's first opponent in AEW. And which prominent wrestling figure is calling collusion between WWE and AEW? Find out shortly. We start with SmackDown from last night in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we thought it would start with chants. Certainly started with Sami Zayn when he mentioned AEW on Monday, but we had signs being confiscated last night at SmackDown. One in particular that stood out. A sign was held up during the Shane McMahon-Elias segment that just said, "You aren't MJF," citing MJF from off of AEW.
Bloody North Korea, Oklahoma.
The sign was held up during several promos and just randomly disappeared after that. Another sign that was held up that's called RI, we just said, "Save us Triple H" on it. It's the fans revolting in their own beautiful way.
Yeah, I understand why they confiscated them. Let's not...
Yeah, and that MJF sign, it wasn't like in the background on like a shot of the crowd. This is front and centre for a good long time.
At the same time, Sami Zayn mentions AEW. You're sort of giving the impression to the fans that you're willing to talk about them, right? You're willing to incorporate them into your show in some way. So I can understand why fans would think it's acceptable to bring along those signs.
Possibly, but then I think you want to control the references to it. I think when you're trying to tell a story of the WWE variety, that's all being lost, no matter how good or bad the story is.
But we, the WWE Universe, are part of the show, Thomas.
We promote it, we book it, don't we? Triple H said that all that while ago. Fightful.com reached out to MJF for further comment on the sign debacle, and MJF responded by saying, "I will sue you if you ever reach out again." MJF might be my favourite.
He was unbelievable at Double or Nothing.
Absolutely.
Future world champ. I'm calling it now. He's so good at what he does. I had heard like stuff about him and people just say, "Oh, he's a cheap EC3, he's a cheap Miz." He's not. He's really bloody good. And several highlights when he was beating up the wrestler with no legs, and he was going, "Take that, Lieutenant Dan!"
Oh God! Didn't hear that.
Gold, and he tore apart Bret Hart as well. One of the best heels in the biz already.
MJF continues to impress in the wrestling world. So a little bit about a wrestler formerly used to work for the WWE that we've not mentioned very much in the Cultaholic news lately. Used to be under the name of Dean Ambrose.
He's the guy with the coat and the furry thing.
No.
Hates germs.
Might be him, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But now he's wrestling under the name of Jon Moxley. You might see him pop up in a couple of indies, at some point. Jon Moxley's back in the news again. We now know his opponent for AEW's Fyter Fest, and it's going to be Joey Janela, a fight that they teased on the YouTube show Being the Elite.
Mm-hmm. I like this. I like the fact that it's an exhibition match where Moxley can just come in, get a nice win under his belt, and it doesn't necessarily have to be storyline straight away. But also you got the opportunity for a post-match beatdown or something like that to get that story started. It seems too soon just to give us Moxley Omega, and I'm not sure Fyter Fest is the right stage for that. So yeah, I really like this.
And Joey Janela is a standout performer in himself, and weirdly, like these two, you wouldn't necessarily put these two together, but could be a belter. I think it will very be. Similar sort of maniacal style that both of them have. I think it genuinely could be a thing.
And I think it needs to be for both of them as well. I think Janela needs a bit of a stand-up performance. It shouldn't just be Dean beating down Joey Janela for 15 minutes. And Dean needs to show us how his character has changed, how it's different from sports entertainment Dean Ambrose. I keep calling him Dean. Jon Moxley. His name's Jon Moxley now.
That's his old name. He is a Jon Moxley. No doubt more Jon Moxley news on Cultaholic News as we get it. WWE and AEW are working together, bro. Vince Russo's popped up. Hooray! So Vinny Roo, one of the most ridiculous bookers in the history of professional wrestling.
Ridiculous men in the history of the world.
Has been speaking out about the All Elite Wrestling burst since Double or Nothing. Vince Russo tweeted the following: unless WWE is in bed with All Elite Wrestling, they have absolutely lost their minds by acknowledging them on their flagship show. Number one never acknowledges number two. Conspiracy? Not when you look at Paul Heyman / ECW being in bed with WWE from the jump. They're working together, bro.
He followed this up with a bunch of tweets basically confirming that it has to be the case. The guy is washed up. The guy is a hack. He's always been a hack, let's face it. Don't get me wrong, responsible for some good storylines. Now he is a man who is desperately trying to stay relevant by any means necessary. He doesn't believe what he's saying here. I don't believe it for a second.
This is just, and I mean, to be fair, down the list on the tweets, he does say, I'm going to get my friend on the show, on my podcast, to talk about it some more. Ding, 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 plug the show. I think it's one of the things where, had anybody but Vinny Roo said it, you kind of might go, oh, maybe there's something to this. But because it's Vince Russo, it's the boy who cried pole match, and we just don't buy it from Vince Russo.
I wouldn't have bought it from anyone unless it came from Vince or Cody. I wouldn't have bought it from anyone. And I think Vince Russo has for now years just been desperately doing all of these publicity stunts. He used to sample. When we were at What Culture, he used to sample bits of the podcast on his podcast and then make fun of it because we were getting excited about wrestling and we're such marks, bro. The guy is just desperate to attach himself to anything popular because he doesn't have a proper job anymore. And I say that stood here.
Does he not like people that get excited about wrestling?
No.
Oh, he's going to hate me.
Right? I almost didn't include this in the news format today because I don't really want to give him publicity, but I thought it'd be a nice excuse to actually say what he's doing here, just in case anybody isn't familiar with Vince Russo and his new strategy of gaining listeners. That's what he's doing, and I don't think it's fair to take him seriously. And I look forward to his reply to this on his show, which you shouldn't listen to. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Screw it. Vince Russo, I don't like you.
I'm going over here, mate. More AEW-based shenanigans, and Jim Ross has been talking about how much of a ball he had doing Double or Nothing, and you can tell. He was loving doing commentary. It was nice to see Jim Ross well and truly back in his pomp as well. JR was speaking about the closing moments of Double or Nothing, and he said that he had actually no idea going into it that Jon Moxley was going to be involved, which explains like his very organic enthusiasm to the entire closing segment of Double or Nothing.
I believe this. I looked at a lot of the tweets saying that, no, of course he knew it was on his format. But no, I absolutely believe this. And I have a reason to believe this because when we were doing WCPW, I spoke to them in a production meeting. Him and Jim Cornette were doing a commentary for it. And in the production meeting beforehand, he went, oh, so what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm the on-screen general manager. And he goes, oh, so you're a good guy, kid. I was like, yeah, well, until tonight. This was the night that I turned heel pushing Martin Kirby.
This was Glow Stick Gate.
This was Glow Stick Gate. And he went, oh, don't tell me. And I was like, he didn't want to know because his reaction would be more organic and more exciting. And so I just completely believed this. And that's why that moment was he was great in the main event. He was a bit, I don't want to call him rusty up until then, but he was hit or miss until then. But in that main event, he absolutely nailed it. When he's familiar with the people in the ring, he's still got it.
Jerry Lawler is quite similar. I remember reading in Jerry Lawler's book that he doesn't like to know everything that goes on because he likes to have a fresh a reaction to what's happening. So I can genuinely believe that Jim Ross doesn't know.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Whether he knew or whether he didn't, he still called it spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a problem with the WWE commentary sometimes is that it does feel so overproduced. For the love of mankind!
I was about to mention that bit with Michael Cole looking at his notes as Shane McMahon plummets in front of him.
Every time the same thing. Oh my! Every time. Just let them do it. We know Michael Cole can be a great commentator. We saw it in the UK Championship tournament, right? He can do it. It's just this overproduction, and it hampers a lot of WWE's product, I would argue.
But how refreshing for JR just to be so loose and off the chain as he was.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.